Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another House of Bricks Live. My name is Adam House. I'm your host. And if this is your first episode in joining us, the House of Bricks is all about building life brick by brick, turning obstacles into stepping stones. And one of our core pillars is empowering veterans to transition from the battlefield to the boardroom. So you've noticed this shift that we made, talking about what the truck that we're using to raise awareness for PTSD and mental health in veterans. And we want to give veterans a platform to come and share their story and the impact that they made in serving our country, but also what they're up to now. And today I'm honored to sit down with Kristina Eaton, a retired U.S. Army veteran with over 23 years of service, a certified life coach specializing in trauma-informed care, and a multi-published author. She's the founder of the Brave Bloom Collective, where she helps women veterans move from trauma to triumph. Through her books, coaching, and speaking, Kristina has become a voice of resilience and restoration, helping others reclaim their identity and live with purpose beyond their service. Kristina, it's a privilege to have you on House of Bricks Live, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Adam. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, it's an honor to have you. And like I had mentioned kind of in the introduction, the purpose of the House of Bricks Live is we're really giving veterans that platform to come share that journey. I'd love to hear a little bit, kind of that big moment you had that changed your journey. You've shared that making the decision to go active duty after your first deployment was a turning point. Can you take us into that moment? What was going through your mind and how did it shape the rest of your career and your life?
Okay, so just like the average college student, you have the degree and you have a lot of debt. So
Degree in debt.
Yeah. I'm sure so many can relate. So I had a commission, so I was a little unique. So I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to do? The initial thought was to stay on the course of the Army Reserve and get certified to teach and become a teacher. I love kids. That's what I always wanted to do. So I thought my company commander at the time knew I was struggling financially and I kind of needed that stepping stone. So he put my name in the hat, unbeknownst to me, for the possibility to get deployed. And what turned out to be, it was like fear of the unknown. It turned out to be one of the biggest blessings. So I went on the deployment, still didn't have a job back home, just focused on, okay, I'm going to do this deployment. I'll figure it out when I get home. And I paid all my debt off that I had at the time. And my student loans were in forbearance. So went back to mom and dad's house, just looking for a job like everybody else, right out of school. So I went to training for 2 weeks with my local unit at the time. I met one pivotal officer who had done the same thing that I had done. He was looking to help other people. I had a conversation with them and I said, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Can you help me?
Yeah.
Before the 2 weeks was over, I had orders in hand moving me from my parents' house to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And the rest is history. And that's what kicked off my active duty period of time.
The old involuntary volunteer, right? They put your name in the hat for you. So I love that. So at House of Bricks, we believe kind of the best lessons in life come from testing, failing, learning, and growing. It's an iterative cycle. A lot of people are afraid to take that first step, the test, and they never get out of the gate. Then some test and fail. And then they don't want to feel that failing of failure again, so they don't do it, right? And then the next step is if you learn from your failure, that is where you can grow. So you've been open kind of about your struggle of pursuing your MBA while moving across the country. Can you walk us through the story of what you wanted to accomplish and what you learned along the way?
Okay, so you said it, Adam. The goal was to get the MBA. And it took me so many years to figure out what I wanted to get that master's in. So a lot of my peers are working on multiple masters and PhDs, and I'm still just years after undergrad not knowing what I wanted to do. So once I made the decision to do the MBA, I enrolled in Auburn University. and I did their online program. And then I was scheduled to move before finishing that degree from Indianapolis to Pacific Northwest. So you already know that that's such a big culture shock. So that move, I was separated from my husband and I were living in two different regions at the time. So he was in one place and I was in the other. So the move forced me to kind of take a, how can I word this? The move forced me to put my mental health first, and my school studies took a back seat. And I didn't expect that. I thought I was just going to PCS, fall in on my unit, and just adjust accordingly as I always do with every military move. So this move was different. I never lived on the Pacific Northwest. So it was in the middle of winter. So I was moving in their what they consider their gray season. That affected my mental health immensely. I fell behind in my studies, and they released me from the program because I couldn't catch up in order to replace my incompletes with actual grades. So that was school number one.
Number one. All right.
School number one.
Yeah.
School number two was Auburn University, Montgomery, Alabama. I did one semester, took two courses, and this was as COVID was happening. So this was August 2020. We were in COVID. It was one of the worst experiences going to school online that I had. The school was not really prepared to pivot the way everybody needed to for COVID. And now I'm a mom. So I had a pandemic baby. So I'm a new mom, kid is under a year, and I'm trying to figure out how to be a mom, go to school online, and be a soldier and a wife at the same time. I did two semesters. I failed one of my classes. My dad passes. So life happens once again. That's school number two. So I said, I'm not going to do this degree until I'm done with the Army and I retire. But something in me kept saying, there's a question mark, and you got to put that period there. So I said, okay, I want to finish this degree. What's next? And then I heard about a very unique, innovative concept of school with Quantic School of Business and Technology. I found out about Quantic through LinkedIn, and they have a app platform with the technology that makes it more of a gamified experience for the students. So I did the interview, got accepted, did the program in 13 months. And then after 3 schools, 7 years, I officially had my MBA.
That's quite a journey. And first of all, sorry about the loss of your father. I went through that as well. Very tough. And you're even speaking to me right now. It's so important when we need to put our mental health first. It's usually the last thing we put first, right? I've gone through that as an entrepreneur for 30 years. It's like you just kind of focus on the task at hand and the next thing, and I'll focus on that later. But when you are in the trenches is when you really need it the most. And I've started recently trying to prioritize, my mental, health as well, just kind of going through that. But for you, what did that experience teach you about resilience, and how do you approach setbacks now?
Well, I always keep my dad near and dear to me, and I think about what he would have said to me in those moments. He would tell me to keep going. He would tell me I could overcome. So I always keep his voice in my head in the middle of everything that's going on. But I want to encourage those out there who are watching, who have a task that they feel like I'm never going to complete this, or a goal that they're trying to accomplish. And as long as you're breathing air and you have life within you, you can finish. It may not take you 7 years. It could take you 10 years, but don't give up. Even if you're pushing towards that goal 1% every day, you can do it. what really helped me was my determination to accomplish this goal. I use vision boards every year to kind of visualize the path that I want to take, the goals that I want to set. I keep that in the forefront. And then I ask myself, okay, why do I want to accomplish this? Why is this important to me? And when you accomplish an education, that's something that nobody can ever take from you. So going back to why are you doing it and not just accomplishing a goal just to accomplish it?
Yeah, the why is definitely important. What I tell people oftentimes, the why comes through that progress, right? You just start to take action, gives you feedback. Am I on the right track, the wrong track? And people view it as a setback. But when the faster you can close one door, another door may open. So you just press forward and you never know. Like you said, as long as you have air in your lungs and you're alive, you've still got a chance to make something like, whatever it is your dream is, and it may change. And one dream you pursue may not work out and lead to what it is you're supposed to actually be doing. But and I appreciate you saying that, to the people out there, inspiring them. So you said you developed your own voice and confidence after being a shy child. How did that transformation happen?
Courtesy of Uncle Sam.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
uh, for people who are in the military, I can only speak about the Army. I've never served in any other branches. I was an officer, and officers do a lot of briefings. Whether you're ready or not, you prepare the best you can. Sometimes we present a lot of PowerPoint presentations. Um, we may be briefing execution plans, operation orders to higher officials, metrics, data points for anything regarding training or things like that. So very shortly after I got those orders, when I was believe it was Fort Polk, Louisiana, and I moved to Baton Rouge, I started getting introduced to presentations and having to brief. And that was way outside of my comfort zone. So the more I did it, the more I got used to it. I still would get nervous along the way sometimes, but that kind of forced me to get over that shyness, because whether you liked it or not, you kind of had to just rise to the occasion and do what was necessary to accomplish the task. So that was one way. Another way was listening to my voice and making sure that my voice was the loudest above everybody else's. And sometimes we get caught up in listening to so many other people for advice, for suggestions, for which way do I go? Which way do I go? And now everybody goes to AI for a lot of things that don't have to do with, okay, this is going to help me on my business. I mean, specific things with AI. Okay, well, should I ask this girl out? What should I cook for dinner? Just the basic things that we're losing our critical thinking skills with. I always want to go back to having my voice, the main voice in my head. So if I'm constantly looking for opinions, thoughts, and suggestions from the outside world and other people, then I'm not going to be able to cultivate that voice. So once I stopped the outside noise per se, I was able to find my voice and kind of build that confidence within myself.
It's funny you brought that up, not directly relevant, but it came to mind anyway. With the AI, I'm taking some classes right now, and I was actually like trying to take notes by hand, and I've been using an AI note taker now for like a year, and I was like, I don't even know if I can write anymore or take. I was like, what am I doing? So it's just, yeah, critical thinking is a lost art, and the way you describe the Army, again, I'm an entrepreneur. I'll tie it back to that. You get put in uncomfortable positions, and what I tell people is to get comfortable being uncomfortable, and then you can always grow, you can always build. And I like what you said about listening to your own voice. We're constantly bombarded with social media, the news, AI. Like, do we even think anymore or know what our voice is. And I'll add one more layer to that, which is you can't always trust your own voice. And this is why it's important to have advisors, coaching, community. This is what we're doing with House of Bricks, getting best of class veterans, entrepreneurs, investors, really coming on and sharing their story, and that can inspire you, educate you, and also be a voice of reason sometimes when we're not having the best self-talk, because sometimes we can be our own worst enemy as well. Back to kind of your service in the military, you were the only woman in your family to serve. So what did that experience teach you about perseverance?
That my male cousins don't know squat.
Oh, here we go. Let's bring him on the show here. This will be interesting.
I say that because I remember having a cousin. I was about to ship off to basic training, and he said, Kristina's not going to last. She's not going to be able to handle them screaming at her. And I remember his voice while I was going through my basic training. And he was currently in himself. He did 4 years of service, and then he got out. And I actually saw him just this past weekend. And for him to still be, living with good health, to see me retired now, is just so grateful. My sister tells me all the time that I'm inspiration to her, and that means a lot to me. So for me to show people in my family and people who aren't in my family that gender doesn't necessarily have to limit you with your career choices. And if you believe in yourself and you do the hard work, and then you follow the things that the good counsel, as you mentioned, are telling you, you can do anything. It's possible.
I love the motivation from your cousin, right? So I've got a few of those voices that help me get those last sets out in the gym. Like, oh, I can. Oh, I can. Like, yeah, for sure. So it's great to turn those negative voices, and they're just being who they are. It's
Right.
nothing against them. We won't get your cousin on today, but I may do a separate episode. So did he end up making it through or no?
He did his 4 years, and then he hung his boots up. But I thought about it throughout the years on some of those tough days that I had to push through. And it's just like, you kind of want to hang the boots up and just say, I'm done. But I had some really positive people along the way saying, you got to keep going. You got to keep going. And sometimes now that I'm on the other side, you realize you're not just going for you and for your household, but some of those people you're inspiring that you don't really know at the time that you're inspiring.
Yeah, I love that. And you never know what that will add to your story. Like even being here today, sharing those accomplishments of, people doubting you going and doing it anyway, achieving it, staying in for as long as you did. And then just never giving up on, the college pursuit, right? Like that's something that college still is a mystery to me, right? You're asking a 18-year-old kid, they can't even gamble, but you're asking them to sign up for hundreds of thousands of dollars in credit card debt. It's just a mystery, and they don't know what I still don't know what I want to do. So how do you ask a 18 or 19-year-old kid to pick a major? So if you were, as a veteran, just some advice for us in the House of Bricks community. What are some of the things that we could do to help veterans more as they make this transition?
I would say be mindful of the identity shift. For those who have never put the uniform on, you've been a civilian your whole life. That's what you've known your whole life. But for us, we're a part of a team, we're a part of a family that understands us, and then we're outside of that family. And it's almost like a circle that you're in, and then you're removed from that circle. and you can't really go back to that circle. So now you're kind of like a fish out of water. So I would just say, have patience, understand that our transition is a process. And what I'm learning, talking to other women veterans, is the transition could be 2 years or the transition could be 20 years. It
Mm.
really depends on the individual, what their journey looked like, and whether or not they had their village and their people, as I like to call it, along the way to kind of help them through that transition. So sometimes the transition can seem longer because they don't have their people. They're still trying to figure out who they are. They can't find people in their area to connect to. So I would just say, just have the patience to understand it's a mental transition, it's a psychological transition, not just a physical transition. And we talk funny. We have our own jargon inside of each branch. So we're not crazy. We're just used to using a certain vernacular that people like us are used to using. So sometimes we may say words and you're like, I don't know what that is. So
Yeah,
we're just getting used to the new normal.
I'm with you. And again, that's really what we're trying to do with the House of Bricks community through our newsletter, is just giving that connection point, being a tribe, finding people on the same frequency that want to grow and build and improve. And so we're really, again, just trying to serve in the best way possible that we can. So if there was one thing kind of in those first 60, 90 days when you made that transition, what's one thing that would have helped you that you didn't have?
Mm, I'm a planner and I'm pretty forward thinking. So I'm always like planning. So I always have things in place. I had to really mentally process that I wasn't on leave, which is vacation, and constantly remind myself, you're not on leave. This is your new normal.
Mm.
You're not just going to come off a vacation, put the uniform on, and go back to life as you know it. So for me, it was just mentally processing that, constantly reminding myself that this is your new normal. One thing that I was reminded by a close friend is to show myself grace, not having to figure out my entire transition overnight. So, what I would say is make sure you have a good support system. If you don't have that support system and you lack those resources, at least have one person that you can lean on, or find the resources on social media, you know, like you guys, and extend grace to yourself and literally take it one day at a time.
I love that. The new normal is a tough transition. And I'll tie back to business one more time. It's just when I've exited a couple companies, but as a founder, you put your whole life into it, right? It becomes your identity. You eat, breathe, and sleep the business. And then when you exit it, it's kind of like, now what? Who am I? And where do I go? You believe that words are powerful. Put that in your notes. And can you share a moment when the right words shifted something big in your life or in someone else's?
I would say one of my close friends, she's still serving. She said to me, we were talking about business, and she said, don't focus on the money, focus on the impact. If you focus on the impact, the money will come, because the impact is the why, and that's always going to be bigger than the money if you're doing it from the heart. And that's how Brave Bloom Collective was born.
We can do a mic drop. That was it. We're done. That was so. I say all the time, like, I've never pursued the dollars. It was the impact and the compete of building businesses, building a team around me, and the money always just follows. Set the vision and money follows. It's a great, excuse me, way to live. So, kind of fast forwarding to today, what are you building now that's really has you excited?
So I am working on my memoir, and I have it divided by themes. So back to what you mentioned in the intro, the stories of resiliency, overcoming the trauma, building the confidence, and finding your voice. So those are going to be themes in my memoir. I was going to take a span of 4 decades to cover in the memoir, but I think I'm just going to keep it central to my military career and using those same themes, just kind of focus on that portion of my life. There'll be some different surprises in the intro of the book and concluding the book that I won't mention, so you all will have to stay tuned for that. And I'm excited to open up my online community. That's going to be opening October the 4th. And it's just an online community that's full of encouragement, sisterhood. And I want to create that village, even if it's virtual, to those women veterans who are saying, I'm there. I need that village. I need to find my people. So I'm going to be having an online community as an extension of my business. And we're going to have a book club monthly. And we're just going to talk about journal prompts, have discussion boards, and just a loving faith based community environment. I'm also excited about the group coaching cohort that I will be starting in January. And that's going to kick off on my birthday, which is January 22nd. So those are some things that I'm looking forward to, Adam, and just excited to make that impact and connect with other women veterans.
Well, I love that, and congrats to you on having the courage to start a community. It will take time. It's has a long tail to it, but getting the right people in there with the right motives, and I love the faith-based element. Why is this group coaching program important to you, and what do you think like the major impact will be for women veterans?
I think that was a loaded question. I'm going to start with the first part. So, the first part, I think it will be a great impact because we live in a society where we focus on medical conditions and we don't address the root causes. We treat the symptoms. And a lot of times, the medical conditions are just a effect for a cause that we don't research. And the body holds trauma and it manifests through other physical ailments. And we don't look at it that way. So we don't address the trauma. We don't talk about the trauma. We don't know how to treat the trauma. We don't acknowledge the trauma. So that's pretty much the heart of everything that we experience. We have the stress because of the trauma, but that's the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about. So I think the impact will be profound because I'm focusing on something that goes under the rug and doesn't get brought up so much of the time. So we're stressed out, we're burned out, but we didn't just get there overnight. It was a buildup. So I think that if we can work on, okay, you have this workplace trauma, let's give you some skills on how to cope and build your resiliency up and work on that emotional regulation and build that emotional intelligence. So when you come into contact with these triggers or you're in other environments that allow you to just respond, I don't want to use the word erratic, but for lack of a better word, erratically, you know how to proceed. You're equipped and you've done the work on yourself to where you can do this. And as adults, if we have children or we have nieces and nephews, having these tools, we're going to be models to show people coming behind us, hey, this is what they did. This is how they responded to it. This is how they reacted. They are responding and not reacting. So now we're showing the next generation how to use those tools. I forgot the second part of the question.
It was it's funny. One of my first podcasts, just to digress a little bit, and I had a guest on. She's super experienced, famous, and I kind of was like, asked her 3 questions at once. She's like, which one do you want me to answer first? So I've tried to stop doing that, but that was one question with a comma. So it's technically still one question, but
Okay.
how, I kind of lost my train of thought, but the where we were going with that is why it's important and what impact do you want it to have on female veterans?
Um, Female veterans, I think we're rock stars, and I think a lot of times we get overlooked because we are serving in a male dominated profession. And we need to make sure that we're still using our voice to say, hey, we're here, we served, we matter, we still matter even outside of the uniform. Because every time my husband and I would go somewhere, they would look at the license plate on my vehicle and they would always assume that he was the service member. And I just think about, like, I didn't get upset, but it was just kind of like, well, why is that the automatic go to? Why is that the default? Um, and he's never served. So it's just like a reminder to me that we get forgotten about a lot of times because people assume that the wife is a military spouse and not the service member. So we just have to make sure that we're continuing to write history and we're continuing to make our needs known with whatever those may be. And just remind everybody that we're out here and we matter whether we're in or out of the uniform and that we're part of history and we're not going anywhere.
And again, thank you for your service. We,
Thank
appreciate
you.
all you've done for our country, and we're really trying to make it where, Veterans Day is every day, right? It shouldn't just be recognized, recognizing our veterans a couple times a year, but really having a movement behind it to make that impact and also honor those that served us. So on a lighter note, you definitely have a skill that I don't have, which is you can play the acoustic guitar by ear.
Yes.
But your happy place, the gym and the beach, we're twinning there. So those are my 2 favorite places. That's why I live in Detroit, because of the beaches here. Just kidding. So I spent a good decade off and on in Miami. So just fell in love with the ocean there,
Okay.
and obviously love the gym. But the guitar by ear, tell me about that.
So I sang in different choirs when I was little, and I learned how to read sheet music. And I bought a guitar after being in Afghanistan, seeing another soldier who deployed with their guitar. And I said, I think I might want to do that. So when I redeployed after that deployment, I got a guitar. I took lessons and I was able to mimic what the instructor was playing without reading the sheet music. And I did not know that I had that talent. And they said, you're doing way better than I thought you would for a person that never played the guitar. And I think maybe I just memorized the notes from singing in choirs in the past and knowing how to read sheet music. I'm not sure, but I could pull up any song and try to mimic the notes of the song on the guitar. So don't know where that talent came from.
I don't have it, so if you can figure it out, that would be something to add to the repertoire. But any closing thoughts for our listeners today that we haven't talked about so far?
I just want to piggyback off of what I said when we were talking about the degree and how I got to that point, and if I could say something that's going to help somebody else, I would say just reminding you to just keep going and never think that you cannot accomplish something because of your circumstances, because of your resources, because of your background. We all can do whatever we put our mind to. And we have a lot of voices telling us in society that these are the reasons why we can't do something, and it's unnecessary division. So we just have to remember that we're all the human race. We can do anything we put our minds to, and we have to support one another the best we can.
That's perfectly said, and a great way for us to close out. So I want to thank you for sharing your story and your mission with us. To everyone watching, go check out her work at thebravebloom.com. Join the Blooming in Grace book club starting in October. And if you're a woman veteran looking to build resilience, check out her upcoming Bloom Method Experience Group coaching cohort launching on January 22nd. You truly are a planner, because if I came up with that idea, I would have texted Paul and said, hey, can we launch this community tomorrow? So you're already talking about January. That's like light. That's several years ahead of where I'm at in my mindset. So, but again, thank you for joining. Thank you everyone for listening to House of
Thank
Bricks
you,
Live.
Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to keep doing more and more of these episodes featuring veterans, entrepreneurs, investors, really connecting entrepreneurs and veterans. There's so many similarities and ways that we can help veterans and empower them, but also veterans carry skills of leadership, discipline, accountability, like you said, being thrown in uncomfortable situations. That is the life of an entrepreneur. They need that structure. They need accountability. So I think there's, a marriage there that is synergistic, that both parties can grow. So I want to thank you again for joining House of Bricks Live, and we'll see everybody soon.